task 12 is about manage project artifacts. It looks quite simple, but there are some words which you need to be aware of when you're selecting the answer. It's all about maintaining the project file, maintaining the OPA throughout the project. So during the project, we have lesson learned register. And after the project, once the project is closed, we have to place those files in the lesson learned repository. Lesson learned repository is available in OPA. And once it's available in OPA, it has to be in the form of full communication credentials that anyone can actually collect the data, but if they are authorized for, not for everything. So yeah, task 12 is about those managed project artifacts where we need to update the artifacts. Remember one thing, if these artifacts are actually the baselines, they cannot be updated without the change protocol, which is we have to follow the change control procedure. So based upon that, we have the points determine requirement, what, when, where, and who for managing the artifacts. You have to assign someone. That's why we say that we have to clearly establish the RACI matrix, that who needs to be responsible, accountable, to be informed, to be consulted, who will communicate. All the risks, roles, and responsibilities should be assigned. You guys remember in which document we mentioned that who will do what? The rules and responsibilities are assigned in which document? They are assigned in resource management plan. Validate that the project information is kept up to date. Version control system. When you read the word version control system, what comes in your mind? That you already have something called as configuration management system, where we update the versions of the product. So it can change management system as well as configuration management systems. Configuration management system contains configuration management plan, how the configuration will be updated, policies, procedures, how the product scope will be changed. Everything will be defined in configuration management system with the version control system. Continually assess the effectiveness of the management of the project artifacts, that those are still valid. Like you will not have those things in your repository, those are outdated. So you need to ensure that the versions are appropriately available. So based upon that, let us start solving the questions for today. Your project is transitioning from predictive planning to a hybrid model. The team continues producing detailed upfront documentation, but a stakeholder complain about outdated artifacts and wasted efforts. What should the PM do first? Please put your answers in the chat window and then we can discuss. Is it your responsibility to restart documentation on structure. Whose responsibility it is? Who is responsible for documentation and structure? You can hear me now, right? So who's responsible for documentation structure? Who established the documentation? Who facilitate? Who assist project managers? Thank you very much. Exactly. This is the PMO task, not your task. Instruct the team to revise them weekly. Weekly frequency can only be established if you have done the B. So yeah, you can do C, but first you have to do B. And these words are against our protocols. We don't select those answers directly because these are like direct actions without any evaluation or analysis. So yes, correct answer is B here. Very good. Let's go next. Two versions of the requirement document are circulating. Developer use version 3.2 while testing use version 3.1. Defects are increasing. What should the PM do next? Read the option and answer them, please. So implement centralized version control with. When I read this word, it feels that yes, it should be the solution with defined approval workflow and control repository access. Implement centralized document control with defined approval workflow and control repository access. Ask the team to confirm verbally which version is correct. Increase frequency of status meeting. Problem is we have different versions which will not solve the purpose of solution. So meeting will increase the time instead of decreasing the time. That's why it cannot be the answer. When you are selecting A, why you're not selecting B? Can you just write down the reason? Because version control is the appropriate word. Document control is actually the part of version control. That's why A is correct. The wording has to be very specific. One word will change the answer. Remember that. Perfect. Thanks. Next, a global team reports difficulty accessing key project artifacts due to network restrictions and storage fragmentation across department. What is the most appropriate action? Difficulty accessing. So they have a problem of access. Email critical documents weekly to all team members. Establish a centralized secure repository with defined access permissions aligned to stakeholder roles. Allow teams to store document locally for faster access or reduce documentation requirement. Which you think is a better answer here? Exactly. That establish as per the requirement. Very good. Next, stakeholders frequently request clarifications that are already documented in project artifacts. The team claims the documentation is complete. What should the PM do first? Which means Problem is where? In a stakeholder engagement plan or communication management plan? First answer this, please. First answer this circled. Problem in a stakeholder engagement plan or problem in communication management plan? Problem in communication management plan. Who needs what information, how, when, which format, which technology, which frequency? So communication management plan. So what you will do first, increase document detail level, assess artifacts, usability, clarity, and stakeholder awareness before adding more content. Require stakeholders to review artifacts more carefully, add more approval signatures. Now you already have the answer. So please go ahead. Exactly. Correct answer is B, communication management plan. Very good. Next, a scope change was implemented, but the requirements traceability matrix was not updated. Again, problem is requirement traceability matrix was not updated, which means there will be different versions, which means configuration management system is not working. The change later caused integration issues, surely because requirement traceability matrix shows dependencies between the requirements, that if you're going to change this, what will be the next one? So what should the PM do next? Update the requirement traceability matrix and validate downstream impacts. Remove documentation, inform a stakeholder that the change caused unavoidable impact, add new risk entries only. Exactly. You have to validate. So here we have the first word update, but actually it's a better answer in among all of them. That's what I say, that read all the options. You cannot decide the thing only on one word also. It's good to expedite answer, but you have to read it very carefully. If you will skip this answer and you will select another answer because of this word only, then your result will be needs improvement directly. Perfect. Next, an agile team argues that maintaining detailed risk and issue logs slows them down. They prefer tracking everything informally on collaboration boards. What is the most appropriate response as a project manager? Eliminate formal logs entirely, enforce rigid predictive documentation, tailor artifacts, or escalate non-compliance. Exactly. Tailor accordingly. Very good. That's the only correct answer here. Next. Your organization requires formal documentation retention policies. The team frequently deletes older version to avoid confusion. Delete. Who is deleting? Team. And they are doing frequently. And you have a retention policy, like, in litigations, you need to keep the documents for a while. There are policies related to that. Like we have data protection, we have data analyst, we have data retention policies. So there is a limit for that. You cannot destroy the data like this. What should the PM do first? Problem is because they want to avoid having duplicates, avoid having confusions from the older versions. Reinforce retention policy and implement controlled archival process with version history preservations. Reinforce document storage discipline and implement controlled archival process with version history preservation. Allow deletion to maintain clarity. Escalate to legal immediately. So you know that these cannot be the answers, and you need to choose one of them from A or B. So read the words carefully. Reinforce retention policy. Reinforce document storage. Problem with the retention policy, right? Question always have the answer. Question always have the answer. Just select it. Very good. Next. Your artifact repository is structured and updated regularly. However, team members still recreate templates independently instead of using standardized ones. Before you go to the answers, how this can be resolved in your perspective on the knowledge of PMO we have discussed. First answer this, then we'll go to the options. You have to perform the access management from the perspective of IT, that no one can edit it, no one can download it. Like in SharePoint servers, we have these permissions, and we have to enforce policies that no one can change it. If you want to change it, you have to report to us and we will change the document. You cannot do it by yourself. Because if something is creating problem, this is what we teach in PMO and ISO, that if something is creating problem, we can update the documentations. So the process should be followed. You cannot do the things by yourself. So yeah, ground rules can be initiated. Team charter can be reinforced that, hey guys, please follow the guidelines. Don't do the things by yourself. It's against the company policy and so on. What is the most appropriate action? Now already you know the answer. Mandate a strict template usage. Better answer. Evaluate artifact management effectiveness. Gather feedback and adjust usability or training approach. Another better answer. Remove template standardization. Increase documentation complexity. So A and B are correct answer, but which one is better? Exactly. D is better answer. We can do this, but it's better that why we are going with the force. Let's go with problem solving, collaborate. So we can solve the issue permanently. It should not come back. Next. A sensitive financial forecast document was mistakenly accessed by unauthorized team member due to board broad repository permissions. What should the PM do next? What will solve the problem? Exactly. You need to fix the permissions instead of doing any other actions. Like we have in SharePoint, we can enforce it. Sometimes you share the link of the file instead of sharing the file. And link, anyone can, if you are sharing the link, that anyone can open with the link. So it means it's not in your control now. So whenever you are sharing the files from SharePoint, ensure that you don't share the link with everyone. We just share the link with specific people. Next. During lesson learned review, stakeholder comments that many artifacts were produced but rarely referenced, not aligned. The project met objectives successfully. Even though project was successful, what should the PM do first for future projects? Maintain current artifact list to ensure completeness, conduct artifact effectiveness assessment and tailor future artifact requirement based on value contribution, eliminate documentation wherever possible, increase documentation approval rigorously. This is the task of PM. And also this. Who are you to eliminate documentation when PM was there? You have to do this. So you can tell the PMO, hey PMO guys, can you please do this for me? Always remember, don't do the things what you are not responsible for. Do not, and do not let anyone do what they are not responsible for. This is your task as a project manager. Let everyone do their own task. This is your protocol to lead the project. Let everyone follow their guidelines. That's why we in Predictive we have a lot of documentation that every roles are assigned, every responsibility is discussed and assigned, and they should do their own task instead of going here and there. Because if you will start doing these type of things, storming stage will come. Means conflicts will start increasing, and instead of solving the problem, we will create more problems. So don't do the things you are not responsible for, and don't answer anything which you are not responsible for. Only communicate what is required. That's what we call it, effective and efficient communication. Very good. Let's keep it here because that was the task 12 and